Good morning. It's around 8:38 in the morning. It's a pretty chilly morning, around 50 degrees Celsius. Um, and I'm sitting under this golden trumpet tree that's blooming. It's one of two uh, golden trumpet trees in Lake Eola. The other one is somewhere over there, but not as big or as gorgeous as this one right on the edge of the park. Today I felt compelled to do something different. You've been seeing me work. You've seen me do... Oop. There's a cardinal right above me. As I was doing my morning walk with the resident swans and geese and ducks and pigeons and every kind of bird that's around the lake, I felt compelled to talk about the design philosophy behind the Orinoco sequence. And now, the bird of the day. Okay, so this is what we were working on the other day. This is still the work in progress still, but you can see that this is a painted frame. There's color there. You saw me build this. We did this together, so it was the sketch first, and then the painting part. I just added this egg, and I printed it out because this is what we're gonna trace next and create like a little thing for it. All the elements of the sequence, all the elements of all the design elements of these, all the design elements of this specific folktale or this sequence are perfectly encapsulated here. So why Watuna, and what does that mean? That's kind of where we start. So the Orinoco sequence in the film is basically a creation myth. Now, what is Watuna? This is Watuna. So this is the Orinoco creation cycle. This is I'm gonna read a little bit of the synopsis. So it says originally published in Spain. No, not true. Originally published in Spanish in 1970, Watuna is the epic history and creation stories of the indigenous people living along the northern bank of the upper Orinoco River of Venezuela, a region of mountains and virgin forests virtually unexplored even to the present. So I bought this book. This was inside the book when I bought it, which I thought was really sweet. This book is very extensive. Obviously, it contains a wide variety of different creation myths, and I found this very compelling, very fascinating, but I didn't want to steal, and this is very precious. Obviously, the stories by indigenous people are theirs, and we are very lucky to be able to read them and have some kind of recollection for them. So what Folklorico is a series of made-up folktales that kind of explain our current situation, the Venezuelan and Latin American exodus of the 21st century. A lot of it has to do with that idea, or trying to explain that idea of we are no longer there, and we've had to migrate, and we've had to leave, and we've had to reinvent ourselves. So the idea of creating a new Watuna, a new epic, a new creation myth for the film became more appealing than taking something that belongs to a specific group of people, and that it's very important to them. So that is why this Orinoco / Watuna 2 segment of the film is about. So once that idea kind of developed in my head, I came across this PDF of Baby's Own Aesop Fables. Obviously, Aesop Fables are like you might all be very familiar with them. But this specific copy PDF, we'll run through it together, proved to be very inspiring artistically, and you can kind of tell where I'm taking things from. Let me adjust the camera. This was in the public domain review website, and it serves as really nice inspiration. So I took a look at this, and so I just kind of scrolled through this, and I was just fascinated by the way the the typography was so uneven and so ornate by itself. The way the stories were framed, again, the simple, or not really simple, they're really complicated artwork that look very simple. And again, the use of color is really beautiful, and this idea of centering pieces of stories and characters within the composition with recurring shapes. I thought it was very beautiful. The fact that illustrations could be as simple as just a few leaves to get the notion of a background, or it could be as complicated as having a foreground and a background. So since it was a creation myth, I wanted to approach this a little bit different. This is very refined. Every piece of art is very clean. The lines are neat. It's a very ornate picture, and the color is complete everywhere. And I wanted to take that idea of a creation myth and apply it to the way we create art, which obviously comes in stages. So you always have a concept, there's an idea, it exists in the mind before it becomes concrete or physical in form of a sketch, and then all the little things we do to polish that. We paint, we apply finishes, we retouch, we rework. So I wanted to combine half of this fairy tale aesthetic and half a sketchbook aesthetic, and make them come together and make it seem as if the story is half finished, but it's also beginning cyclical in a way. That's sort of the design philosophy behind Orinoco, and it manifests in different ways. So obviously we did this together. I painted the branch, and then I animated Ubata, the goddess here, flying in very rough sketch animation. So this idea that the tree exists in one way and she exists in another, and they're interchangeable. No one thing is ever the same. So at one point the branch might be sketched out, the sun might be sketched out. Here we see, this is like so far the money shot, which is this frame by frame animation of the tear. And then this is where you can kind of see all the pieces come together, which this tear that is different little paintings ripped out and scanned individually is falling, and you can see the mountain and the tree are sketched out, and then as it falls into the ground, it creates kind of these ripples that are also paint, and this is that same unfinished. And then of course this river, and there's going to be other elements. So you can kind of already see, how this design philosophy is manifesting itself in different sequences or in different shots, and how I'm approaching what's the best way to get to the point of each specific shot and each specific moment of the sequence. And I want to speak about this more in detail later. This film is part of my master's degree at the University of Central Florida, so I'm gonna be writing a whole thesis and dissertation on this film, and this was one of my first steps into explaining the design philosophy behind this specific sequence. And as we keep working on the film, there's gonna be more of these videos where I explain how I'm approaching or why I'm approaching, and hopefully that gives you greater context on the work that we're doing here. So thank you again for joining my living room, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Hopefully working on more cool stuff. Thank you.